vanishing folklore and beliefs. Living a Wager, from Hero Tales and Legends of the Serbians, public domain reading. Living for a Wager. One day a father sent his boy to the mill with corn to be ground, and at the moment of his departure he warned him not to grind it in any mill where he should happen to find a beardless man. When the boy came to a mill, he was therefore disappointed to find that the miller was beardless. "God bless you, beardless," saluted the boy. "May God help you," returned the miller. "May I grind my corn here?" asked the boy. "Yes, why not?" responded the beardless one. My corn will be soon ground. You can then grind yours as long as you please." But the boy, remembering his father's warning, left this mill and went to another up the brook. But Beardless took some grain, and hurrying by a shorter way, reached the second mill first, and put some of his corn there to be ground. When the boy arrived and saw that the miller was again a beardless man, he hastened to a third mill. But again, Beardless hurried by a shortcut, and reached it before the boy. He did the same at a fourth mill, so that the boy concluded that all millers are beardless men. He therefore put down his sack, and when the corn of Beardless was ground, he took his turn at the mill. When all of his grain had been ground, Beardless man proposed, "Listen, my boy, let us make a loaf of your flour." The boy had not forgotten his father's injunction to have nothing to do with beardless millers, but as he saw no way out of it, he accepted the proposal. So Beardless now took all the flour, mixed it with water, which the boy brought him, and thus made a very large loaf. They then fired the oven and baked the loaf, which, when finished, they placed against the wall. Then the miller proposed, "Listen, my boy, if we were to now divide this loaf between us, there would be little enough for either of us. Let us therefore tell each other stories, and whoever tells the greatest lie shall have the whole loaf for himself." The boy reflected a little, and seeing no way of helping himself, said, "Very well, but you must begin." Then Beardless told various stories, till he got quite tired. Then the boy said, My dear Beardless, it is a pity if you do not know any more, for what you have said is really nothing. Only listen, and I shall tell you now the real truth." In my young days, when I was an old man, we possessed many beehives, and I used to count the bees every morning. I counted them easily enough, but I could never contrive to count the beehives. Well, one morning as I was counting the bees, I was greatly surprised to find that the best bee was missing. So I saddled a cock, mounted it, and started in search of my bee. I traced it to the seashore and saw that it had gone over the sea, so I decided to follow it. When I had crossed the water, I discovered that a peasant had caught my bee. he was plowing his fields with it and was about to sow millet. So I exclaimed, "That is my bee. How did you get it?" And the plowman answered, "Brother, if this is really your bee, come here and take it." So I went to him, and he gave me back my bee and a sack full of millet, on account of the services my bee had rendered him. Then I put my sack on my back and moved the saddle from the cock to the bee. Then I mounted and led the cock behind me, that it might rest a while. As I was crossing the sea, one of the strings of my sack burst, and all the millet poured into the water. When I had got across, it was already night, so I alighted and let the bee loose to graze. As to the cock, I fastened him near me and gave him some hay. After that, I laid myself down to sleep. When I arose the next morning, great was my surprise to see that during the night the wolves had slaughtered and devoured my bee, and the honey was spread about the valley, knee-deep and ankle-deep in the hills. Then I was puzzled to know in what vessel I could gather up all the honey. Meantime, I remembered that I had a little axe with me, so I went into the woods to catch a beast, in order to make a bag of its skin. When I reached the forest, I saw 2 deer dancing on one leg. So I threw my axe, broke their only leg, and caught them both. From those 2 deer I drew 3 skins and made a bag of each, and in them gathered up all the honey. Then I loaded the cock with the bags and hurried homeward. When I arrived home, I found that my father had just been born, and I was told to go to heaven to fetch some holy water. I did not know how to get there, but as I pondered the matter, I remembered the millet which had fallen into the sea. I went back to that place and found that the grain had grown up, a loaf of it, and was eating it with some warm milk. I greeted him, saying, "God bless you." Correction. Upon reaching heaven, I found that the millet had ripened, and an angel had harvested the grain, and had made a loaf of it, and was eating it with some warm milk. I greeted him, saying, "God bless you." The angel responded, "May God help you," and gave me some holy water. On my way back, I found that there had been a great rain, so that the sea had risen so high that my millet was carried away. I was frightened as to how I should descend again to earth, but at length I remembered that I had long hair. It is so long that when I am standing upright, it reaches down to the ground, and when I sit, it reaches to my ears. Well, I took out my knife and cut off one hair after another, tying them end to end as I descended upon them. Meantime, darkness overtook me before I got to the bottom, and so I decided to make a large knot and to pass the night on it. But what was I to do without a fire? The tinder box I had with me, but I had no wood. Suddenly I remembered that I had in my vest a sewing needle, so I found it, split it, and made a big fire, which warmed me nicely, and then I laid myself down to sleep. When I fell asleep, unfortunately, a flame burnt the hair through, and head over heels I fell to the ground and sank into the earth up to my girdle. I moved about to see how I could get out, and when I found that I was tightly interred, I hurried home for a spade and came back and dug myself out. As soon as I was freed, I took the holy water and started for home. When I arrived, reapers were working in the field. It was such a hot day that I feared the poor men would burn to death, and called to them, "Why do you not bring here our mare, which is 2 days' journey long and half a day broad, and on whose back large willows are growing? She could make some shade where you are working." My father, hearing this, quickly brought the mare, and the reapers continued working in the shade. Then I took a jug in which to fetch some water. When I came to the well, I found the water was quite frozen. So I took my head off and broke the ice with it. Then I filled the jug and carried the water to the reapers. When they saw me, they asked me, "Where is your head?" I lifted my hand, and to my great surprise, my head was not upon my shoulders. And then I remembered having left it by the well. I went back at once, but found that a fox was there before me, and was busy devouring my head. I approached slowly and struck the beast fiercely with my foot, so that in great fear it dropped a little book. This I picked up, and upon opening it, found written in these words, "The whole loaf is for thee, and beardless is to get nothing." Saying this, the boy took hold of the loaf and made off. As for the beardless man, he was speechless, and remained gazing after the boy in astonishment. If you enjoyed this reading, please click the subscribe button, like this video, and share it. Thank you. Vanishing folklore and belief.